So let's start first with the idea of a viral creation. How important is that? It's important. Well, it's not the only step, but let's dive in. You know, it's funny. I found this slide from one of my earliest keynotes when I was doing my Exploiting Chaos book and keynote tour back in about 2007. And I used to put this slide up in an audience back when we used to meet everyone in person and the world was all about conferences. And I would say, how many people here have ever worked from home? And half the room would put their hand up. Well, now the whole room puts our hand up. We're all working from home in the COVID-19 era, and we've learned how to work from home beyond that era. But the joke I used to make would be, well, if you're working from home and you're tuned in, whether it's on Zoom or Skype or Google Hangouts, you might need to get dressed up. You might need to put on a suit, a tie, but you know what? You don't need just any suit. You need a half suit. All business up top and all party down below. Now, what I love about the half suit is it's a real product called the Business Bib. They sent one to me, but I'm actually wearing a full suit coat today. But for me, this is a very nostalgic item because in 2006 is when Trent Hunter first published the half suit. It was before YouTube was really taken off as a thing, before Facebook was really taken off. We were in our second year, and this was my first experience ever of experiencing what it was like to go viral. And you have to remember that before social media, 15 years ago, things didn't really go viral the same way. But I posted about the half suit, a whole bunch of other websites started covering it, and other sites covered them. And when you fast forward about 6 months, in 2006, that little half suit got about 35 million views. And in that time period, that was bananas. That's the most views you could imagine to any article, I don't know, maybe for the year. And you know, now that sort of thing could technically happen in an hour on TikTok, YouTube, a lot of other mediums. But this is when our research project began, back in 2006. And the first takeaway that I'm going to say before we dive in is your creation doesn't need to be a half suit. But when you create something that connects with whatever market finds you most irresistible, your story today will travel faster than ever before. That curve is accelerating how quickly a message can spread exponentially faster than the rest of human progress. Communication is perhaps the most accelerating category in our planet. So the creation is important, and if you create something good, that might be enough. But what I'm going to talk about would be what happens if it's not half suit? What are the other ways that you can actually make your product really rock and roll? The next way to cultivate a viral or infectious communication for your new idea or product would be thinking about the medium of how you convey your message. And for this, my favorite example in the world is this guy. Now, I can put up his picture and a small proportion of people will know who he is, but I'll give you a little bit of some context. His name is Joshua Bell. He plays a $15 million Stradivarius violin. He played the background music for the movie The Red Violin, and when he's on stage, he makes $1,000 a minute. So quite simply, when it comes to playing a violin, he is the best in the world at what it is that he does. Now, the question for you would be, would you stop to hear Joshua if you saw him 5 feet away from you playing his most difficult piece of music on a $15 million violin? And I've asked this in many audiences, and everyone puts up their hand. We'd all kind of want to hear that. But what happened is different. When the Washington Post took the best violin player in the world and put him in the subway with his $15 million violin, and got him to play the most difficult piece of violin music he knew. Instead of making $1,000 a minute, over the course of an hour, he made just $35. And most of it came from one woman who said, "I recognize you. Hey, will you be here again next week?" No, I will not. The lesson for you and I is if you portray your product, your creation, your wonderful idea as average, that's all that it will ever be. Instead, you need to think about how you're portraying your idea, conveying it, putting it in a medium that shows this is the greatest thing that could ever happen for your desired audience.